When God clears your circle, the hidden blessing. You're missing. There's a moment that comes in every woman's life when she looks around and realizes, I'm alone. Not because she pushed people away, not because she did something wrong, but because something shifted. Time to be still, time to listen differently, time to see what was always there but hidden beneath all the noise. If that's where you are right now, if you've been wondering why your circle got smaller, why the calls stopped coming, why it feels like you're walking this path by yourself, this message might be for you. What you're about to hear isn't a fix or a formula. It's just a different way of seeing what's happening. Let's begin. 1. When people walk out, something else walks in. There are seasons when everyone else seems to fade into the background. When the phone stops ringing, when the group chats go quiet, when the people you thought would be there forever suddenly aren't. That friend who always needed something from you but was never there when you needed her, gone. That relationship you poured everything into only to get crumbs back, ended. And you're sitting there at 2 a.m. scrolling through old photos wondering, what's wrong with me? But maybe, just maybe, nothing is wrong with you. Maybe this is something quieter, something that looks like loss but might be making room for something else. In 2 Timothy, Paul writes about standing alone at his defense. Everyone deserted him. But then he says something interesting. But the Lord stood at my side, not as a replacement for people, but as a presence he could finally notice when the room got quiet. Jesus was affirmed in the waters of baptism, but he was strengthened in the wilderness. Sometimes isolation comes before carrying something deeper. The wilderness isn't punishment. It's where things get clearer. Sometimes people belong to certain chapters of your life. They serve their purpose, but they're not built for where you're going next. And maybe that's okay. 2. When the noise stops, you finally hear yourself. A loud life makes it hard to hear a gentle voice. So sometimes, in what feels like loss, the room just clears. Because sometimes God's voice is a whisper, and a whisper can only be heard when you become still. The text messages stop coming. The dinner invitations fade away. The late night calls don't ring anymore. And in that silence, something shifts. You start praying differently, not out of routine or religion, but because you need to. You open Scripture not because your reading plan says to, but because you're starving for a word that will sustain you. You stop depending on the voices of people and start depending on something deeper. Hagar discovered this in Genesis 16. Forgotten by people, used and discarded, alone in a wilderness with a child and no future. But she realized something. She was seen, even when everyone else looked away. She learned to say, "You are the God who sees me, El Roi." Maybe that's your revelation too. In your loneliness, you're not invisible. You're just learning to see differently. 3. When people leave, you start to see who you really are. For too long, you've been shaped by other people's opinions, their expectations, their definitions of who you should be. You became what they needed. You shrunk to fit their comfort. You dimmed your light so they wouldn't feel overshadowed. But when they all walk away, something interesting happens. You finally see yourself without their lens, not rejected, but released, not broken, but becoming. Your loneliness might become your classroom. Your silence might become the soil where something new can grow. This might be your wilderness season. And maybe you're not here to fail. You're here to be prepared. 4. Sometimes what we lean on gets removed to show us what we're made of. Many of us are taught from childhood to depend on others for affirmation, for comfort, for direction, for worth. But leaning only on people might keep you from discovering the strength that's already inside you. So sometimes the support gets removed, and in that space, something gets revealed. The things that get removed aren't always people. Sometimes they're your plans, your routines, your image, your need for control, your addiction to approval. When those things fall apart, it feels like loss, but maybe it's actually liberation. Because when you finally lose what you thought you needed, you discover what's actually been holding you all along. 5. Pain often teaches what comfort never could. I won't lie to you. The season hurts. The silence stings. The loneliness cuts deep. But pain isn't always the enemy. Sometimes pain is the teacher. Look at Hannah in 1 Samuel, misunderstood, mocked, empty, broken. Her womb was closed. Her prayers seemed unanswered. Her tears fell like rain, but she found that her tears didn't drive God away. Maybe they drew him near. Her pain pushed her into deeper prayer. Her suffering became the place where her miracle was conceived, not because the trial is joyful, but because it's producing something you couldn't get any other way. Perseverance, character, faith that doesn't need proof to keep believing. Some don't pray certain prayers until their heart breaks. Some don't seek God deeply until everyone else is gone. Your pain might not be wasted. It might be working something in you. 6. Your loneliness might not be a delay. It might be a sacred space. Purpose often grows in quiet places. Callings are conceived in secret. Elizabeth was hidden for 5 months after conceiving John the Baptist, not because she was ashamed, but because God was forming something holy inside her. Your loneliness isn't a shelf where God put you and forgot about you. It might be a womb. God might not be ignoring you. He might be incubating something. Sometimes those who are hidden are later used in powerful ways. You might not be set aside. You might be set apart. You're not empty. You're becoming. So if you're in this season right now, if you've been crying in secret, if you've been wondering if God still sees you, hear me gently. You might not be abandoned. You might not be forgotten. This might not be the end of your story. It might be the most important chapter. And when you come out of this season, and I believe you will, you might not be the same person who entered it. You might be stronger, wiser, quieter, clearer. When you have almost no one but God, you might not shrink. You might grow. You might not get lost. You might get found. And when you emerge from this hidden season, you might carry something that shifts the atmosphere around you. You might walk with a quiet authority that doesn't need permission, because you learned something that the wilderness teaches, that when you have God, you might have everything you actually need. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it, someone who's been walking alone, someone who's been questioning why their circle got smaller. And remember, when you have almost no one but God, you might not have less. You might have exactly what you need. God bless you.